Hello, I'm Locke, Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines, where I have the Baton Rouge Police Chief, Murphy Paul. The Chief's going to talk to us about the challenges he encountered when he took on the position, his evaluation of what things needed to be changed and implemented, the implementation of the change with a #1 priority of involving the community to become the eyes and ears and help to the Baton Rouge Police Department to reduce crime and homicide. Join us on the next Legal Lines with Baton Rouge Police Chief, Murphy Paul.
One of the reasons I love this firm is that the moment you walk through the doors, you're so much more than business. You're family, which means we're going to fight for you as if you're family.
Most of the people we represent come from past clients who have referred friends, family members, other people they love to us to represent them in the same way we represented the persons who referred them.
We all pull from each other's experiences, knowledge of the law, so that we get you not only a solution to your problems, but the best solution that we can come up with for your problems.
Knowledge is power, and the folks who know what they're doing empower you. They enable you to make the right kind of decisions that best serves you. And that's our #1 goal, frankly. Our #1 ministry is to serve you.
Hello, welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke, Meredith, and I'm very pleased to have on the show for the first time the Baton Rouge Police Chief, Murphy Paul. Chief, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I've really been looking forward to this. You've come in a very difficult time, and I've kind of been reading up on all the challenges that you face, but you seem like the man to face it, because I've also studied your career, and it's remarkable. So tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I've been in law enforcement, 27 years now. I'm still
Long time.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. And I had a great career, retired from Louisiana State Police before I was blessed with this opportunity. But I'm born and reared in New Orleans. Graduated from Loyola University, come from a pretty large family.
How many folks?
Oh my gosh, my mom had 11 brothers and sisters,
Holy
and my father
moly.
9. So,
Good gosh almighty.
yeah, pretty large family, but loving family.
Used to chaos then, huh?
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. 2 beautiful sisters who was raised by my mom.
And you've got 5 sons?
Yeah, yes, sir.
What are their
yes, sir.
ages?
So I have I know my grades. Let's go. So I have one in the 9th grade. The twins are in the 8th grade. My youngest is in the 7th.
Good gosh.
And I think I have 9th grade. The twins are in the 7th grade. The 6th grade is my youngest, and my girlfriend and I have a 7-year-old.
Good gosh, yes. You got your hands full.
Yes, sir.
I had
Yes, sir.
4 and 3 boys, but I don't know how you handle that. We had a little gap between them all.
Yes, sir.
I think it's important to point out that you have a history from the bottom up in law enforcement.
Yeah.
You started state trooper, and you went through every single rank to the point you were assistant or deputy superintendent,
Yes, sir.
and you were in the finalists to become the new superintendent of Louisiana State Police.
Yeah, what an awesome, I had a great career with state police, very diverse career, worked in just about every area within the Louisiana State Police, and to be blessed with the opportunity to go through the ranks and sit down and have an interview with the governor was really something I'll always remember.
It's extraordinary. Tell the folks kind of what your focuses were, because you really have covered the whole gambit of kind of what's required in law enforcement.
Yeah, it was one of those situations because I was promoted so fast through state police as a young guy. It's kind of like I knew a little bit about everything, but a lot about nothing.
They say that about judges too.
yes, yeah. But no, it was really, but I think I've been blessed to have mentors. And I think that was the key to my, success in law enforcement so far, is having the right mentors, guys who saw something in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself, and were always there to encourage me, to push me forward, to find the words to lift me up when I was going through things, and I think that's important,
It's remarkable.
especially in a highly stressful position like this and going through the ranks, to have those mentors that have been there for me.
You referred in some of the materials I read as it a calling. It's a unique, special person that goes into law enforcement. I've had the honor and privilege of knowing a good number of the law enforcement heads and down in the trooper or police officer level, and it really is. It's a sacrifice. It's a public service to be in law enforcement.
Yeah, it is. And, I wasn't supposed to be here. If you would have asked me, 6 months before I was blessed with this opportunity, where did I see myself? It wasn't the chief of police of the Baton Rouge Police Department. It just wasn't in my plans. I was, when I had gone through that process in state police, I wanted to be a certified mentor and trainer. So in life coach, and I made an investment to go through John Maxwell. I had been reviewing different leadership.
I've studied some of that, and it's extraordinarily valuable.
Yes, John
That's
Maxwell.
a very important gift. I actually, when I was listening to you, the bottom line is you've been teachable your whole life, and you've learned a lot as a result. And because you've learned a lot, you now are becoming a mentor to others.
Yeah, and I'm still learning. I'd say there's a lot of
you
mentors.
Never don't stop, do we?
Yes, sir. I learn every day. It's such a great organization to be part of, and what I have to concentrate on is, being a leader. In my position, I think I forget that sometimes, and I want to make the environment comfortable where the men and women in the police department are okay to tell me when I'm making a mistake or when I'm not going in the right direction, because part of leading is following.
It's so interesting. I've interviewed some Navy SEALs and those guys that kind of have to ramp it up, and also some of the top echelon of the military, and they talk about there's this fear in the military and your profession that if I disclose that I'm stressed out or I'm not doing real well for whatever particular reason, if I disclose it, it's going to hurt me. And it's remarkable that you recognize that, and as I've read, kind of implemented some new programs to help free up folks who need help, and that makes the whole force better and helps that person.
No, absolutely. With the CISM, that's an ego thing. With in law enforcement, historically, we don't like to say when we
that's right.
Need time out and when we need help.
Nobody likes to say, I feel weak right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're trying to change that. We change that environment because our police officers are human. And, we're dealing with people at some of the worst times of their lives.
That's right.
And negative situations. So it's important for us to let our officers know that it's safe to say, you know what, I need a timeout. I need some help. And we're doing that with our critical incident stress management team. We are looking at our employee assistance program. We're sending a couple of our officers to San Antonio, Texas, to look at their model and to come back with some recommendations and strategies to help us over a long period of time. Last year, unfortunately, we had one of our police officers who took his own life. And we don't want that to happen again.
It's an epidemic in the military because the stress is so overwhelming and demand so overwhelming. And the world's different in y'all's particular professions compared to kind of the ignorance the rest of us live in. And it is truly a service. And again, we thank you on behalf and the entire Baton Rouge police force and sheriffs, deputies, state police for all the sacrifices. From everything I've read, Mayor Broome, Sharon has really backed you 100%. She chose you out of, I think it was 5 folks, and
narrowed down to 5. It was, I think,
it was a big field.
Yeah.
And you were amongst, I believe it was 5 finalists, and she's kind of empowered you to accomplish what you feel like you need to.
She has, she's been a good, she's a woman of God, I hear people sometimes say things, you hear things in the universe about people, and when someone says something negative, I automatically think they really don't know my mayor, because she's a woman of God, and her leadership, it's really rare in terms of, look, I've been fortunate enough to, in my hat as a state police, when Mike Edmondson, who was the superintendent at the time, would give me opportunities to sit on national boards, to sit in positions. And in those positions, I was around a lot of leaders in law enforcement, leaders in other areas. And you just know good leaders when you see them.
Right.
And you see those qualities. And I tell you, our mayor has those qualities.
I
And
agree.
She's a woman of God, and she's a praying woman, and she loves this community.
I agree, and I frankly have the same opinion of Colonel Edmondson. He was
Yes.
fantastic.
Absolutely.
We'll continue this on the next segment. This
Yes,
is
sir.
Locke Mayor with Legal Lines, Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul. We'll be right back.
One of the reasons I love this firm is that the moment you walk through the doors, you're so much more than business. You're family, which means we're going to fight for you as if you're family.
Most of the people we represent come from past clients who have referred friends, family members, other people they love to us to represent them in the same way we represented the persons who referred them.
We all pull from each other's experiences, knowledge, the law, so that we get you not only a solution to your problems, but the best solution that we can come up with for your problems.
Knowledge is power, and the folks who know what they're doing empower you. They enable you to make the right kind of decisions that best serves you. And that's our number one goal, frankly. Our number one ministry is to serve you.
Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. Again, very pleased to have on the show for the first time the Baton Rouge Police Chief, Mr. Murphy Paul. Chief,
Yes, sir.
Thank you again for doing the
Yes,
show.
sir.
I really
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
it. You know, I've gotten updates from the DA and Sheriff Gautreaux, Hiller Moore and Sheriff Gautreaux, and it's really nice to get the whole gambit of opportunity and visions and goals,
Yes, sir.
and see that they're aligned and everybody's sharing resources.
Very
So when you came in, it was one of the most difficult times in the history of Baton Rouge in the parish. And, you know, we'd had all the tragedies in 2016 of Mr. Sterling, and then the attack on 6 of our law enforcement officers, 3 of whom were killed, 3 wounded. Had the flood that devastated a lot of equipment and vehicles and buildings and such, not only for individuals and the public, for you guys. Revenues went down because property values went down, so it was a
Right.
very difficult time. And it was also a time where the community really wasn't trusting the police very much. And frankly, the police officers were kind of leery about going out because there was this weird, just bad vibe between everybody. And it seems like that is now dissipating. So explain to the folks kind of what you did, what you evaluated, and what you did.
Yeah, you know, coming in, when I was blessed with the opportunity, I was aware there was a lot of trauma in this community, not just on the community side, but also trauma in our officers, because they're human too, and they experienced the same thing. Every event you just mentioned,
That's right.
Our police officers had to go through the same experience while still raising their families and still serving the public.
I remember
So-
the sheriff telling me, I think 200 of his deputies'
Yeah.
homes were flooded, destroyed, and they're out trying to help everybody else. And I assume you guys did the same thing.
Absolutely. So I knew coming in that was going to be a challenge, but I knew early on that one of my jobs as the new leader was to change perceptions. And based on the things you said, you know, one was to change how our police officers, see the public that we serve. That was one, because, you know, when you begin to change perceptions and how you see people, you begin to police a little different.
Right.
But also to change the perception of the community and how they see our police officers.
Kind
right?
of create trust and respect
Absolutely.
both ways.
Respect goes both ways.
Right.
So when I came in, I knew that was a challenge, but I also knew that I was an outsider coming in. You know,
Interesting.
coming from
Didn't
state
think about
police,
that. Yep.
coming into an organization that I probably wasn't their choice, you know, as chief of police, because most of the other applicants were coming from within the police department. And I knew that in itself. So I had to learn how I had to earn their trust. I had to earn their trust. And so I set out with a 6-point high strategy when I came in to the police department. And I knew that the first 6 months to a year was going to be learning. And I admit that it was the learning curve was a lot greater than I thought it would be. It really was. There are a lot of areas that I didn't think about. But I still came in and I stayed focused with the 6-point strategy, which was one, to create a mission-focused organization. You know, I believe coming in and still do that. There's a small group of people in Baton Rouge that's responsible for majority of the crime, less than 6%.
6%.
Absolutely,
Incredible.
less than. And I think if we can focus our efforts on that small group of individuals that are responsible for the majority of the crime and treat the rest of our public like the good law-abiding citizens that they are. It's
6%,
really important.
that's 6 people out of 100.
Absolutely.
I mean, to quantify it just strikes you as unbelievable.
Yes,
And they're committing the vast majority of crime, and you typically kind of know in what areas and to some degree who they are.
Well, right, but and when we identify that, and that's through intelligence, through analysts, through working with our state and federal partners to identify. But the biggest resource we have to help identify who the bad actors are in the community is the community.
That's right.
It's the people in the community. And we have to understand that when we go in these areas, particularly disinvested communities, those areas we call hot spots where a lot of the crimes are occurring, that when we go in those areas, that the majority of the people in those areas are good law-abiding citizens just like you and I. So we cannot go in there with this zero tolerance approach, trying to treat everyone in that area a certain type of way, because it's only less than 6% of the individuals in that community.
In essence, that kind of in my head, they're like under siege. The 94 people are under siege by 6. They're like hostage to their scenarios.
They want the crime out more than we do because they live it every day. They have to live it every day.
And they're losing, young black men are being decimated. It's just the statistics just are sad. What's
More than
80%?
85% of our homicide victims were young African-American males, and those where we know who the suspect was, more than 80% of the suspects in those cases were African-American males. So we know that when we are looking at ways to attack this, to address this violence, this culture of violence in our city, that we have to address all of the socioeconomic issues that are directly related to young African-American males. And we start talking about education.
You started to define. So define
education.
the socioeconomic
Well, education
issues.
plays a role. You know, when we have young men dropping out of school, right? There's a I can tie
almost
that
guarantees it,
directly.
doesn't it?
Right, absolutely. If I go to Angola Penitentiary and we start asking how many young men in the penitentiary dropped out of high school. So that's it. And then the family structure.
Right.
You know, the family structure over time, it's been destroyed. It's been depreciated over time, and we have to bring that back. I think the faith-based community plays a role in it. You know, we don't have enough young men in church. So I think all of those things play into the criminal justice system as a whole. And we, as a society, we have to do a better job of giving second chances. We really do.
And I think we've tried to do that, have we not, in the last, this judicial reform law that was just passed by the state was supposed to kind of give folks an easier shot at a second chance, but also, pour $8 million out of the 12 savings this past year into rehab and retraining?
I do. And listen, I think that we're getting it right this time because, look, part of moving forward is looking back on mistakes that we've made in the past. And when we go back and we look at the crack cocaine epidemic and the zero tolerance approach that we took, we got it wrong. We were locking up young people all over the country for crack cocaine, predominantly African Americans. And when we look back at what happened as a result of that,
destroyed the community.
We left mothers and grandmothers raising little kids. And fast forward, now we have this opioid epidemic. And the face of addiction has changed. The face of addiction has changed. It's not specific to any race, any demographic, any age, any income. It is everywhere. And I think because everyone can relate in some type of way to this opioid epidemic, that we're really having good, healthy conversations on the left, the right, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter where you're at. We're having good conversation about treating addiction like a disease and not like a crime. And that should have been our response to the crack cocaine epidemic, but it wasn't.
It wasn't understood that they were actually addicted and they had really no way out.
Absolutely.
And in fact, it's so interesting, the recidivism rate, if you don't get retrained and get help and rehabilitated, is just astronomical. Yeah. Whereas if you get that type of care, it it works out a whole lot better.
Well,
You're
and
not
I'm glad.
returning as fast.
I am. I'm glad to see that we are really moving forward as an agency, not only with addiction, but mental health
All right,
as
Chief,
well.
we'll continue this on the next segment. This is Locke, Meredith of Legal Lines with my special guest, Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul. We'll be right back.
One of the reasons I love this firm is that the moment you walk through the doors, you're so much more than business. You're family, which means we're going to fight for you as if you're family.
Most of the people we represent come from past clients who have referred friends, family members, other people they love to us to represent them in the same way we represented the persons who referred them.
We all pull from each other's experiences, knowledge, the law, so that we get you not only a solution to your problems, but the best solution that we can come up with for your problems.
Knowledge is power, and the folks who know what they're doing empower you. They enable you to make the right kind of decisions that best serves you. And that's our number one goal, frankly. Our number one ministry is to serve you.
Welcome back to Legal Lines. Again, I'm pleased to have on the show for the first time the Baton Rouge Police Chief, Murphy Paul. Chief, let's dive back in.
Yes, sir.
We were talking about kind of your areas of focus, and you talked about the analytics and kind of the mission focus.
Yes.
Kind of further dive into what you determined needed to be done.
Well, resources. One of the things we looked at was we had positions within a police department where some of the responsibilities were administrative in nature, and we may not necessarily need a gun-toting police officer to do that. So we looked at some of those positions and looked at how we can either consolidate those responsibilities or determine if we can outsource that or hire a civilian to do that function. So that was one of the things that we did, and we were able to put more police officers on the street. But also, we knew it was important for us to have an academy, which we did. We're losing a lot of police officers to retirement and also to other agencies because our pay just isn't at the level where it should be when our competitors like the Louisiana State Police, which are really a partner, but when it comes to recruiting, we're competing with them, right?
Well, and Chief, I read that,
yeah.
that you guys are like 5,000 less than the sheriffs
Yeah.
and what, 10 or 15?
20.
20 of state.
Yeah.
That doesn't count the feds and maybe private folks out there.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of competition. So how are we going to fix that?
Well, in Gonzales PD, you can go right there to Gonzales Police Department and make more money. So we did a pay study. We went out, we hired a company to do a pay study, and we've been I'm pushing that to get support. We have support from our mayor's office, from our city council, and everybody believes that our police officers deserve a raise. The challenge is, where are we going to get the money? Right. And that's what the challenge. And I think the first start is really looking at my current budget, right? The $90+ million that I have.
How much is it again?
It's around $96 million.
$96 million.
And being responsible and accountable and looking at areas where we can be better within the police department and recognize some dollars within the department and then present that. I think it's the right thing to do. And then look at other funding sources that are out there before we even consider going to the public asking for any more.
Chief, I don't think people understand just how big the Baton Rouge police force is. Isn't it close to 700?
700 commissioned, but over 855 positions when we count our non-civilian, our non-police positions as well. Yes,
and then you've got, what, a $96 million budget. You've got multiple buildings to take care of, tons of equipment, highly technical, most of it in nature. It's quite a task to manage all of that.
It's an operation, and it's something new every day. We ask, there's a lot of responsibilities that come with the title of police officer. And even with those responsibilities, when we look at the stress that our police officers have to deal with on a daily basis. I was fortunate to come from Louisiana State Police, great career, been all around the state, field offices, grew up in the city of New Orleans, live in Gonzales right now. And I assure you, if I put a camera in a day in the life of a Baton Rouge Police Department and compare it to some of the other agencies, the only agency in the state of Louisiana that would compare to what our police officers do every day is the New Orleans Police Department.
And in fact, I think I read that you kind of emulated one of their programs or maybe used it as kind of an impetus for the real-time unit?
Which was part of our technology. You know, one of the strategies was to look at technology and equipment. And one of the things, the city of New Orleans has a real-time crime center whose focus started out with the French Quarter area. Obviously, there's a lot of resources that come through there because of the tourism and other things. And there were a few unfortunate high crimes that occurred. They got a lot of publicity.
For a while, the state police had to supplement the force down there.
State police still has a manpower patrolling the French Quarter, supporting the New Orleans Police Department. So theirs was geared around that. So we looked at that and we say, okay, what can we do in the city of Baton Rouge to give our police officers more information, not just ours, but the sheriff's office. Every first responder in EBR is going to have access to the real-time crime center. And what we're saying is there's a lot of information out there, a lot of technology that our analysts can have access to. The average calls for service is about 5 minutes. And in that 5 minutes, we believe that there's information that we can give our police officers before they respond to a call for service.
Very important.
So they could take a more problem-solving approach to addressing calls for
And
service.
the source of that information, as I understand it from speaking with you and other law enforcement, is you got this shot spotter, the license plate reader.
That's correct.
And different other technologies.
Crime cameras.
Talk about the crime cameras, because y'all are now collating all that information, putting it in one spot and putting it in usable formats, and you send it straight to your officer who's headed over there.
Absolutely.
And it lets them know whether this is really dangerous, here's who you're looking for, or whatever they may need that you might have, you give it to them.
Yeah, and that's what we want to be. You know, we think that, you know, the more information we can give our police officers, our sheriff's deputies when they're responding, whether you're in some of the other areas, whether it's Zachary or Baker, the more information we can give those officers before they arrive on the scene.
And do I understand that this unit is actually in all these disciplines, all these different forces are all together in one building, sharing this information and sharing resources?
Absolutely.
And data and
that's the goal.
analysts? It's amazing. It's fascinating.
Yeah, the goal is to be co-located together, working together.
Makes a lot of sense.
Having access. You know, we're fortunate in EBR where we have a chief, a mayor, and the district attorney who not only know each other, have relationships, but who are on the same page when it comes to where we're going in public safety. And that's great, because I can tell you that's rare. That doesn't happen in every jurisdiction. That doesn't happen in every state. And to know that we're all on the same page, we're going to be working together in the real-time crime center. We're going to be on the same CADs for the first time. Every first responder in EBR is going to be on the same CADs, computer-aided dispatching system. We're now going to, we're looking at the same vendor, and we're going to be on the same RMS, records management system. So your largest law enforcement agencies, BRPD, Sheriff's Office, is going to be on the same records management system. And also the district attorney is also going to be, is already working with that same company. So the data and information that we're going to have available to us in EBR, the analytical exploitation, what we can do with that data is going to take us to a whole nother level in helping predict crime and helping with asset relocations.
Tell the folks about the security cameras, because I think it's a wonderful idea of kind of what your big picture is for the security cameras, both private and public.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that we're looking at when the real-time crime center come up is going to be a shared camera partnership where we're going to be asking the community to connect with us, to tell us if they have cameras, and if so, there's some forms that you have to fill out. And when there are crimes in the area, we're going to be asking you for your help. We're going to be asking you to check your cameras at certain specific times. We're going to give you access to download that information if you see something to our server in the cloud. And it's going to be an interactive. We're asking the community to get involved. There's going to be feedback on successes if that information turned into an arrest. But it really engaging the community in a way that we've never done before, because we cannot stop this culture of violence or crime without help from the community.
And they've become the eyes and ears in ways that you can't do it. Chief,
yeah, they're going to be our detectives.
Thank you very much, very much
yes,
appreciated. This is Locke, Meredith of Legal Lines, Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul. Thank you for being with us.